Friends, welcome to this video on journey of professional excellence. Well, I began my corporate career in 1983 as an employee and of course grew to senior level positions with the local subsidiaries of two of the global banks, and I served on the board of their local companies in India. I have also been on my own for many years, almost close to 2 decades now, and have seen both these roles of being an employee as well as being a consultant, a facilitator for learning, and so on. Quite often I get invited, particularly by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, to share some of my takeaways in my journey of professional pursuit, professional excellence. And it's a beautiful 2 hour interactive session in which we bring forward many facets which are very important for anyone who is aspiring to grow in professional life, whether as an employee or as a professional. Now, in this video, I have made it very brief. It's a capsule video of just about 18 to 20 minutes in which I have tried to capture all these important principles. Of course, the advantage of an in-person session where we have more time uh, cannot be really achieved through a video like this. However, I'm hoping for busy professionals like you who are very ambitious, who are aspiring to grow in your life, particularly in professional life, some of these tips in this shorter form would be useful. I hope it meets your objectives as well. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, take this opportunity to subscribe. If you like the video, at the end of this video, please press the like button too. So let's very quickly talk about what is excellence. Excellence is a pursuit of perfection. Nobody is perfect, but all of us can achieve a performance which goes closer to perfection. It's a constant endeavor of human life that we always become better and better. And that's our birthright too. We should always pursue excellence in whichever domain we are. Now let's also talk about what is excellence. In my view, of course, there can be different views on this, but in my view, excellence is more about our attitude to whatever we undertake. And that's very, very important in my view. Let us explore further dimensions. The question often arises that is excellence God-given or is it cultivated or can be cultivated? I would like to draw a distinction between talent and excellence. Talent, by all means, is God-given. A part of that can be cultivated, but substantial part of talent is a natural gift to us. Excellence, on the other hand, is something we can cultivate very actively because that involves our endeavor. And quite often we have seen people who have been a bit short of talent, but by sheer dedication and efforts, they have achieved excellence. And people who have been extremely talented have actually withered away because they could not keep the momentum which is required for excellence. And we have seen many examples of this in the domain of cricket. By the way, I am a cricketer too. So I thought I would just make this distinction between talent and excellence. Now the question arises, is excellence only applicable to professional life? Not really. In this video, my focus is obviously professional life. But a lot of these principles equally apply to any domain that we undertake, even sports and many other domains. Even in our personal life, these dimensions really matter. But of course, the focus of my video here is more on the professional side of our life. So in this video, we are going to discuss which are the important dimensions which we need to be conscious of, which we need to actively address, with which or through which we can cultivate excellence. So as I promised you, I'm not going to make this as a long video, though the sessions often have gone on for 2 hours, 3 hours, because I've also found that There is so much to learn from people who participate, and quite often they bring forth facets that I may not have necessarily thought of, or they bring different dimensions of the points that I'm going to put forward to you. However, broadly, the principles that I have talked about here, the dimensions that I have talked about here, are very vital. And I would welcome your comments in case you feel that I have not addressed any particular dimension. Please feel free to add that in the comment box, and I would like to acknowledge it. That's very, very important. So, first and foremost, I think what is most important is relentless focus in whatever we do, whether it is professional life or even our own personal commitments that we have to fulfill. We need to be focused on them, because unless we bring focus, we're not able to get the necessary energy which is required to ensure that our professional endeavor becomes a success. Lack of energy is quite often something which comes in the way of people's progress. And the energy that a person exudes is quite visible. Now, this, of course, I'm going to talk about one more dimension as we go along, but cultivation of our energy is also a very, very important aspect. And that energy is evident from the way we speak, the way we communicate, the way we conduct meetings, the way we actually get together, our colleagues, the way we deal with our superiors. So this energy is something very vital, and relentless focus can be instrumental in ensuring that our energy can be focused in achieving our objectives. Second important aspect is that of commitment. Once we start getting focused, commitment goes hand in hand. But there is one more dimension of commitment. Focus is important, but quite often there could be distractions in our way. And commitment is something that helps us to make a clear trade-off. For example, if I'm preparing for an examination, I need some change to refresh myself. But this is where I need to clearly exercise the trade-off and say that, hey, this much and no more. And that can only come by way of commitment. The same thing is important in professional life also, that we, of course, have so many other dimensions of our life. But how do we want to apportion our time to all those dimensions becomes very important. And that comes about through our commitment to our goals and objectives. Practice. I am a cricketer, as I said, and going to nets regularly is so vital before anyone plays a cricket match. And the same thing applies to our professional life as well. Practice, practice, practice. This is not something which is going to be suddenly realized by us. It's something which is going to be realized through a continuous commitment to these principles, and therefore continually putting them to practice is something which is extremely important. The next one is about creating dependability. This is extremely important in our professional growth, whether we are an independent service provider or whether we are an employee. Creating this dependability is extremely vital. Now, when we prove our dependability, when a task is given to us and we are able to demonstrate that we are capable and we are focused on those tasks, this dependability gradually builds trust. This is something which has to be earned, and this can't be earned overnight. So this dependability is again a very vital dimension of our practice, that we continue to have to deliver a dependability. And again, quite often people unfortunately mix up dependability with the compensation that is being offered to them. So where handsome compensation is offered to an individual, the person is extremely committed, the person proves his or her dependability. But that's not the case. Dependability is independent of the compensation. Irrespective of the amount of compensation which is being paid for our service, we need to demonstrate dependability. You never know what kind of opportunities which will arise to you sheerly out of your dependability, and particularly more opportunities arise when you prove them in circumstances when he had no obligation to prove them. In other words, when you are doing some service as a pro bono activity, not even for compensation, like for example, I help some of my relatives in managing their money and I do it pro bono, I don't take any compensation from them. But my commitment to them of sending them a statement every 15 days is not diluted. I don't compromise on that commitment just because they're not paying me any fee. It is out of my own volition that I don't accept any fee from them. But the point is, when it comes to dependability, I don't do any compromise. My statement will go to them every 15 days. Now, again, I'm not in the profession of managing wealth or money. But because I do manage my own money, I use the same principles for them. And there is no distinction between the principles I follow in managing my money versus the principles that I follow in managing their money. They are exactly the same. So whatever I would do to monitor my own investments, I do for them. I send them a statement every 15 days. And therefore, this dependability, we should segregate it from the compensation. This is something irrespective. Sharpening our tools all the time. This is very, very vital. By the way, I have been a national rank holder in all the four programs, the CA, CMA, Company Secretary, and CFA program, except in the CA program. In all other three programs, I'm in the top three all India. Only in the CA program, because of a mishap in one of the papers, my rank went down to 11th. I then pursued my PhD from IIT Bombay. However, I cannot sit on my own laurels. I need to sharpen my tools all the time. I continue to pursue various courses, I attend seminars, and at the same time I keep on sharing because all these tools are useful in sharpening our own talent. So we continually have to challenge ourselves, and that is again irrespective of the age that we have. So this is something which is very vital, and again, people who continue to upgrade themselves create more opportunities. The next dimension is about proactive communication. Proactive communication is required towards every stakeholder, every dependent who looks to us for information or support. It includes, of course, our superiors. And whenever we feel that there are some issues in terms of our deliverables, we need to be proactive in communicating to our superiors or our dependencies, or if things are not going the way that we had planned and we need to do some change in our course, we need to take our stakeholders in confidence. And that onus is on us. It makes a huge difference between somebody asks us about an update and we provide an update in advance. It makes a huge difference in our credibility. And this is very vital in building our personal credibility and dependability about which we talked about. Humility. I think people who are humble have the potential to learn more because one of the most important learning principles is being humble. Being humble means we admit that we do not know certain things. And being aware about what we don't know is also a very vital part of our growth. And therefore, I would submit that humility is something that we need to consciously cultivate. Well, in some cases, it is not natural to us, or in some cases, maybe people are humble most of the time, but sometimes they show other colors too. That happens with me also. But I need to consciously work on those pitfalls and ensure that I'm humble irrespective of the irritations that sometimes may be caused by people. This is very, very vital. And being humble has no cost. In fact, it makes us lighter. It uh, reduces our challenges in terms of conflicts with others. It actually builds cooperation and it creates multiple opportunities. So humility has no cost. In fact, it has tremendous value, and therefore I would urge you to consider this. One other very important dimension is empathy. Why empathy is very important? We have, right from our childhood, been in a rat race. In a rat race, the only objective is to go ahead of others. In the process, we actually forget the basic human values. Over a period of time, it is the human values which are going to hone our excellence. Just think about this. Rat race can take us only thus far, but human values can actually take us extremely far in terms of achievements. And therefore, we need to consciously uh, ingrain this empathy dimension in our life. I've been a car driver for the last 33 years, and I don't remember to have blown my horn more than 30 times in these 33 years. In fact, because of my cricket, I became a biker uh, when I was well past 51. However, when I've been driving my bike, I've not even blown my horn even once. And that's out of empathy for people who are my co-travelers, people who are living next door to the roads on which I drive, because every action that we take is going to create a ripple effect somewhere. And this empathy about what others would feel is extremely vital, and it actually brings the best out of us. So I would again request you to consider this dimension about human values and particularly empathy. Time is our most vital resource, and time gone is something that we can never recover. Wealth gone can be earned. Health, there are some health issues we can recover from health, but time lost is gone forever. So watching our time, quality of the time is very, very vital. And this actually can take us farther. Time as a resource is very vital to learn new skills, develop new skill set, continuously challenge ourselves, and therefore using our time very well is the most important secret of achiever success. Again, I mentioned earlier about human values, and in the process of our work, in the process of our professional achievements, we quite often forget the relationships which have been a part of either part of a family or a part of a professional life. There's so many people. If you were to actually sit and start counting in terms of people who have contributed to our life, uh, I would imagine in my personal case, I can easily count more than 40 people from whom I have learned, who have supported, who have helped. And all these relationships are very valuable. And I'm not saying that valuing relationship is purely from a selfish perspective, that just because somebody gave something to you or you earned something from that person, it is irrespective. And I would say valuing relationships is an extension of the empathy dimension that I earlier spoke about. When I worked for a multinational organization in the early part of my career, I had a very senior colleague. He was the head of R&D, and I wouldn't hesitate taking his name. His name was Mr. Uh, S.M. Modi. He was the head of research in Johnson& Johnson. I learned a very important thing from him in the early part of my career. And he said, Abhijit, I always care about the value that I create. I don't worry so much about my price. Price is the salary that he would get from the organization. He said, I'm very conscious that the value that I'm creating is far more than the price that the organization is paying me. And this is a golden rule, I would say, that as far as we are conscious that we are creating more value than the price that is either being paid by our employer or by our client, if we are in a professional service ourselves, this is a golden principle. This, if we adhere to, it is going to be the word of mouth about our standards of service. There's going to be a pull factor that's going to be created. And this is something which is very, very vital learning that I've had in early part of my career. And I'm extremely thankful to Mr. Modi for that wisdom. Taking care of our own health is so vital. As we say in Hindi or in Marathi, Shir Salamat to Pagdi Pachas. Only if you're well, we can actually go to newer heights. And therefore, a regular practice of exercises, I personally have been following a pranayama routine for the last 15 years. Surya Namaskars, exercises, walk, whatever works for you. This is something you need to develop as a part of your routine and take care of your own health. This is very, very vital because only on this foundation we can actually create a superstructure. Also, one very important learning that I've had is that, higher the purpose of our life, is our energy level. If we take a very selfish view in each of our endeavors, whether it is pursuing an exam or a career, simply to say that this is something I'm doing only for my family or my immediate dependents, then it's a very narrow view of life. On the other hand, if we expand our horizon and say that this is something I'm doing for my country, I'm doing it for my society, or at least for my community, and I want to contribute back to my society, this is something which is a very vital contribution, which is going to drive my life. And when that becomes the driver, these smaller challenges don't bother us because then we are driven by a higher purpose. And that is something which brings the best out of us. And that, I think, is a secret to excellence. Whenever we talk about the Indian ethos in education, I always say this that while the Western education makes us a taker, of course, we have seen great examples from the West also who have been great philanthropists. And unfortunately, in India, our entire education system was actively destroyed by the colonizers. However, if you go to the secret of the education that we had from ancient times, it is to make every individual a giver, a responsible person who is conscious of duties. And if a person is responsible for duties, then we don't have to fight for rights. Because when people are conscious about duties, they are going to go out of the way to deliver them. And that is something which is very vital. Now that is what has been from our ancient times been called as dharma. Dharma is not religion. It is actually cultivating a higher sense of duty. And when we create a culture of this type, obviously we find far more givers in the society. And as we have experienced through ages in our Indian society, and I'm sure many elder cultures would have similar experiences world over, that people through ages have been givers, not takers. They have been conscious of their duties, not rights. And lastly, I would say that whatever we do should be in the form of a prayer to our Creator. Because finally, we got this consciousness from the Creator, by whatever name you may uh, I am consciously saying it, as in the Vedic tradition, God is not either masculine or feminine. It is indicated by the neutral gender, and therefore the word Brahma, which stands for God, is indicated by it. It is not he or she. But that creator has actually put that spark in us. And we need to acknowledge that we have derived this spark. It's exactly like a drop out of an ocean. The ocean is the Brahma or God, and we are individually a drop of that ocean. So acknowledging that is what prayer is all about. And I think this is a very important, the last dimension, which I think is very important in the journey of excellence. So friends, I hope you like this video. If you have, please share it with others, subscribe the channel, offer your comments, and share it, with people who may benefit from it, and do suggest topics you think will be useful to people. Thank you so much.